G'day guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoyed today's bloody good episode, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, let's get right into it. Cheers. Posted by user PossibleSoil3886, titled, Am I the asshole for spending my son's university fund on a trip to Europe to drink beer like I always threatened, instead of giving it to his stepbrother after he passed away? So my son was smart. He was smarter than me. I almost requested a paternity test because he was so damn intelligent. That's a joke. My ex and I divorced when he was about 12. She remarried when he was 14. I did when he was 16. I had an RESP set up for him. That's an education fund in Canada. As long as he went for post-secondary education, he could use the money for anything. I always told him that I was okay with him not going to university. That way I could use the money that I'd saved up for him to go to Belgium and buy some beer from Monks that only allow you to buy one case. He knew that I was joking, and he always played along. He wouldn't let me get his goat. When he got accepted to McGill, it was the proudest moment of my life. I took him out for a beer to celebrate his achievement and mourn the loss of my trip to Europe. My son was struck and killed by a drunk driver in March. I'm dealing with it. My ex is dealing with it. My wife has been nothing but my rock in this. She is holding me up. I was dealing with the funeral arrangements and everything when my ex came to talk to me about his money. She knew he had a scholarship and was just going to use the money for living expenses and an emergency fund. She asked me what I was going to do with it. I said I was going to do what I always said that I would. I was going to go to Europe to drink beer. She asked if she could have it for her stepson. I thought about it and said no. Her husband is a decent enough person, but he made it clear that he wasn't responsible for any expenses for my son, beyond food and shelter and stuff, obviously. Like I said, he is decent. I said I was not going to do that. I was going to go drink beer in my son's honor. She said I'm wasting thousands of dollars. And I guess I am. I have to give back the government portion of the fund, but I don't care. My ex thinks that I'm being stupid and irresponsible wasting my son's money like this. I don't care. My son would laugh his ass off if he knew I actually did it. In the comments, did your ex contribute to this fund? That's important to know. OP says, not money. I probably put in 95% of the principal, not counting what the government did. It was my folks, her parents, and cash birthday and Christmas gifts when he was little. She never put in money. That doesn't in any way minimize the fact that without my ex, our lifestyle would have been impossible. Not the asshole, but Jesus Christ, I am so sorry. Can you tell us more about your son? Share your favorite story about him, what he wanted to do for a job, your favorite activity together. OP says, my son wanted to study microbiology and immunology. He was thrown for a loop by the pandemic and wanted to make sure that it didn't happen again. He talked about a lot of stuff that went over my head. I'm a baker, I understand yeast. He loved the Habs. I would get us tickets at least once a year. In response to what are the Habs, nickname for the Montreal Canadiens, the hockey team that we cheer for. He loved kayaking with me. We are close to so much water. Well, maybe it was all your yeast that inspired his passion for microbiology. The thing I wish the most for you is that this trip lets his memory bring more joy that he lived than sorrow that he is gone. OP says, I remember teaching him how to make his own sourdough starter. I still have his, and I will use it forever, I think. I don't know if your son would have liked Aussie beer, but me and the boys online at work, Restaurant Kitchen, have cracked open Great Northerns in his honor. Your story deeply touched a group of Aussie chefs. We've all texted our dads. Enjoy your trip, dude. Sounds like it's definitely what your son would have wanted. And OP says, he enjoyed a Victoria Pale Bitter before, and I did as well. Oh, a VB long neck at 8 o'clock in the morning. Get that up, ya. Not the asshole, but why is your ex not helping with the funeral arrangements? That's her son too, and now she's acting like a vulture. Block her, and don't give a flying fish about her. Her current husband didn't treat your son like family, so why would you be his kid's ATM? OP says, no, her husband is a decent person. He has his own son to look after. My son had 2 parents. My ex's husband is a good person that was never cruel or abusive towards my son. He and I had a good relationship. He is a good person. The reason I took care of the funeral arrangements is because my son lived with me to finish high school. I was responsible for him. We still lived in the eastern townships. My ex and her husband just moved to Montreal last year. He was going to live with them while he was in university. From someone who lost her 15-year-old sister to a car accident, this really tore me up way more than I thought it would. She was killed a month after her 15th birthday and had just been accepted to a private high school with a full-ride scholarship that she had been trying for. The acceptance letter sat on her vanity in her room for years after. You were not the asshole. If anything, you were far from it. The ex-wife even asking is a huge one. Please go to Europe and celebrate his life. It's the only thing that should be done with that money. If you have a Venmo or Cash App, I would also like to buy you a beer. I'm truly sorry for your loss. OP replies, thanks for the offer. I'm gonna update when I'm there. I'd appreciate it if you had one with me instead. And now, onto the update. Hi everyone, we're on our way to the airport and on our way to Barcelona. We're going to be in Europe for a month. The visit to the monks at West Vleteren will be the last part of our trip. 2 reasons. I don't want to lug beer bottles all over Spain, France, Belgium, and Holland, and also I'm putting it off as long as I can. For those of you that asked, my son's name is Ryan. He was an amazing kid. I don't know if he got his love for the microscopic world from me. I did teach him how to make his own sourdough starter, and I will be keeping his alive to make loaves and waffles with. His ashes are in our yard, on Mount Treblant, on the shores of the St. Lawrence, and I will be taking some to Belgium. My grandfathers have many friends buried there, and I think they would approve. I thank everyone that offered to buy me a beer, and while I appreciate the offer, I'm pretty sure my liver and my wife would not have been happy with me. I will be with the monks on the week of the June 23rd. If you would like to join me in a toast with your favorite drink of choice, I would love that more. I love knowing that people all around the world know about my son, and he would love knowing that he was toasted in such a manner. I spoke with my wife, my ex-wife, her husband, and his son. I invited them to join us, at my expense, for the last week of my trip. My wife's stepson has friends with my son. I didn't know how close until we spoke. They are gaming buddies. They spoke almost every day playing online. He gave me a picture with my son that I did not have. It's a picture of the 2 of them at about aged 14 to 15 and my ex-wife's wedding to his father. My son looked great in his suit. I cried, he did too. We had a very awkward but heartfelt man hug. Then we laughed. They will be coming to say goodbye with us. After talking to my accountant and my lawyer, I was told that I could not have transferred him the value of the RESP. I have decided, after talking to my wife, that we are going to give him enough money to cover 1 year of tuition. Even after my trip, we will have money left over. I'm trying to do some good with it. I also said that he could call us anytime he needed, since he will be attending school close to us. So funny he got accepted here, and my son was accepted there. I want to thank everyone who shared their condolences with me. I want to especially thank everyone that helped me plan my visit to Belgium. I know we won't see each other, but you were invaluable. I don't think I have much to say after this. Maybe I'll post an update after the trip. In the comments, Snossagefest says, I love updates like this. Too many people here get wrapped up in this ultimate moral right. Recognizing you're not the asshole, but you are in a position to help others, and choosing to do so is a lovely way to be, and is something we should all aspire to. What a lovely update. I will put a reminder to have an adult beverage in honor of Ryan the week of June 23rd. Screw anyone who drives drunk. I lost a good friend just over 2 years ago when he was struck by a drunk driver. Drunk driver was barely hurt, but my friend didn't make it. It devastated his parents, his brother, about 5 different large friend groups, and will always feel the hole where he should be. This post just really hit me hard and brought back the grief. So yeah, screw drunk drivers. My cousin danced like a maniac at my brother's wedding. It was great, and I was really looking forward to him doing the same at mine. Some drunk asshole stole that from me. Co-signed. My grandpa was killed by a drunk driver when I was 12. I'm 33, and it still stings. His killer was up for parole but got denied. She doesn't think that she did anything wrong. My pap passed when a drunk driver crossed the median of an interstate and hit his work truck at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday. My old man went to the scene and had to see his dad, still in the truck. Barely got to know the guy. From what I'm told, I look and act like him. Short, scrawny, always have a coffee, speak the truth as I see it, and all that. That was some 20 years ago. I visited this morning and I told him about my new job that I start tomorrow. I hope he'd be proud of me. Cabbage-tastrophe says, I'm in microbiology and immunology, and I'm so sad that his son isn't going to have the chance to learn all the cool shit he was about to start learning. I don't know why, but part of it is hitting me surprisingly hard. There is nothing worse than someone with a true passion whose life has been cut short. Absolutely tragic. This whole thing hit me so hard. For me, it's the father-son relationship aspect. My dad isn't perfect, and neither am I, but damn do I love him. I also love when Reddit unites over a common good. Ryan's memory will live on through thousands of people. Beautiful. Not even remotely ashamed to have shed a tear or two over this whole post. I'ma be real, I'm very close to one as well myself, and I want to go and share a beer with him in Belgium. Very beautiful post, and it just reminds you how fickle and easily your life can be taken away from you by someone just like a drunk driver, just like that. Words can't describe the remorse that I feel for such a loss, but I do hope that the trip to Europe and having a beer in his honor helps, bring you guys a little peace, knowing that this is something he would have loved you guys doing. Thank you for sharing your story, OP. Our next post is by user ThrowRA6064, titled, My twin sister, 18 female, and I, 18 female, took a genetic test, and we did not share any DNA. What should my next step be when no one in the family is telling me why? My sister and I are fraternal twins. Recently, we took a genetic test for fun because we wanted to see what we shared and the differences between us. Since we still share genes, fraternal twins are like siblings genetically. My grandparents had suggested the tests and got them for us, so our parents didn't know about it. But our results made no sense. My twins was coming up almost completely as Eastern and Western European, which makes sense, as most of my family are Croatian, German, and Austrian. So all of that would be accurate. But mine wasn't anything like that. It was almost completely Scandinavian, with some Russian and a couple of other places, neither of which were on my twins' results. She had a very small percentage of Scandinavian, but that was it. And we had no matched DNA, which clearly seemed impossible. We were literally twins. We have to share DNA. My twins said they must have mixed my sample up with someone else. We ended up contacting the company, and my twin and I took a test again. It was the same result. Both my twin and I were really confused. We told our grandparents, and they just said that was interesting, and said nothing else. My twin said we should tell our parents and see if they had ever done a genetic test, or if any of our siblings had, and then we could see if somehow ours was still right. I mean, it kinda made sense that I'd have Scandinavian, because I'm much taller than my mother, and quite a bit taller than my twin, and I'm way better at football and handball than she is. And I'm very blonde compared to the rest of my family, but I had thought that it was the German. When we told our mother, they reacted almost the same way as my grandparents, but she seemed annoyed, and said that they're inaccurate anyway, and our grandparents shouldn't have told us to take one. And when we asked our father, he basically said nothing. I'm confused. I know that my twin thinks it's just a mistake, but I don't think so. We have to share DNA, about 50%. That's how twins and siblings work. Even though we're fraternal, we should still share quite a bit of DNA, but other explanations don't make any sense. My mother can't have cheated on my father because my twin and I would still share DNA, just less because we would have different fathers. The results mean we can't share a parent or even be related, but I don't see why my parents would adopt me if I'm not their child, when I don't think they've ever been to Scandinavia, and why they'd adopt a baby that's almost exactly the same age as their baby. I'm panicking. The person I'm closest with in the whole world, who I thought I even shared the womb with, might not even be related to me. My birthday might not even be real. None of this makes any sense, and no one is telling me the truth. I'm also scared my twin might tell her boyfriend about it, and then people might end up knowing that I'm some kind of fraud, and my family isn't my family at all. Edit. I called the clinic where my mother gave birth to all of my siblings. The day of my birthday, my mother is in the records, but only for one birth. Not two, not twins. I don't know if it's an error or my mother didn't give birth to me. OP on asking her extended family members for answers and ask her parents and grandparents. OP says, I don't think they want to tell me anything. They're all acting weirdly now, and I heard my mother yelling at people on the phone. I don't know what's going on, but there's no way they want to tell me what's going on. I looked when my twin wasn't there, but I had no close ones, only very distant ones, only people who are my 8th cousins and that sort of thing, so not very helpful. She sounded a bit too polite for that sometimes, and sometimes at odd times of the day, so I'm not sure it was always my grandparents, but probably my father too. OP on her mother's records at the clinic and see if it was possible she was swapped at birth. OP says, sadly, my mother has given birth every time in a private clinic that is very small. She prefers it. She thinks hospitals are disgusting, and she prefers knowing the doctors. So while that is possible, and I'll look into getting parental DNA done, it would be very concerning if that had happened, because at most, maybe 3 or 4 other women would have given birth at a similar time as her, but possible, definitely. OP on getting her birth certificate from her parents, which might reveal more details on her background. OP says, I didn't think about my birth certificate. I'll ask them, but if they don't give it to me, then I'm sure it shouldn't be too difficult to find. OP on if her grandparents knew anything about her situation. OP says, kind of. I did ask them why they suggested it. And my grandmother said that doesn't matter. I said clearly it does if the results are right, but she just said she doesn't know anything and to tell my mother that. I don't know why they would deliberately upset my parents with this, but I'm only assuming that they wanted me to know. But I don't know why. I think my grandmother thinks that I should figure it out myself now I know, but I literally have no clue when no one will tell me anything at all. Burn Me Up 82 says, if your grandparents suggested the tests, they gave you an important hint towards something. If you don't share DNA, you're not actually twins, nor related at all. Was one of you adopted? Switched at birth? OP says, if one of us were, it had to be me. Most of my father's side is Croatian. There was none in my results, or even close to that region. Did either of you get any genetic matches from the website? I did a test on Ancestry.com a few years ago and got matches to my nephew and my maternal aunt who had both submitted tests. I could have delved deeper to find more distant relatives, but didn't feel like spending the extra money. I'm just thinking if either of you found some closer genetic matches like cousins, aunts and uncles, etc., it might provide some background information at least. OP says, yes, but mine were people that I've never met in my life. My sister had familiar names. And now, onto the update. So I'm adopted, which was probably quite obvious as soon as I got the results, but I guess I was in denial. My parents told me a couple of days ago, not much, but a bit. I know now that my mother was Danish, and my father's old girlfriend from when he was really young, which is seriously weird. I asked them a lot of questions, but I didn't get answers to all of them. I don't know who my father is, how my parents were able to adopt me, and why. If she's even alive, nothing. But thankfully, I'm actually legally adopted by them, which is a relief, since I was worried that I might not be, and my birthday is actually my birthday. So they haven't been committing any weird fraud. It is very weird. My sister has been acting weirdly, and my family as well. But in some ways, it's a relief. My parents still feel like my parents, and my siblings like my siblings. I know that technically they're not, but I don't feel too upset about it. I'm just upset that they lied, and also won't tell me everything. I don't know if they genuinely don't know, or don't want to talk about it, but at least I have an idea about everything now. I'm still not quite sure how I feel about it, but I'm glad that I know about things now. Plus, now I have a country that's actually good at football to support, which is nice. Maybe someday I'll find out everything, maybe not. I could probably look her up and find her if I wanted to, but I'm not sure if I do, if she's still alive. Although everything is different, it doesn't feel so bad, but it does at the same time. It's very weird. But I have a family that loves me, so it could be much worse. I feel sad about my twin, since we're not actually related, which feels really different, and she's acting different as well. But I still love her a lot, and my parents as well. I think it'll take some time to know how I really feel. In some ways, I want to be mad at everyone and do stupid things, but that's only sometimes. And overall, I feel okay, so that's good. And eventually I think I'll be content with how everything is. OP on looking into her background to find her biological relatives, especially birth parents. OP says, I didn't think of that. Maybe at some point I will, but right now I'm happy with my family and how things are, and I don't really want to go through all of that right now. 2006 Bruin says, the grandparents knew what they were doing. I bet they'd be nagging the parents to tell the truth to OP for years. Golly, what an interesting surprise. Now go tell your parents you found out is one hell of a move. I read the first 3 paragraphs and was like, oh boy, Grandma wants to seed some chaos before she leaves this world. As far as OP told us, it's not that spicy, so I'm glad I was kinda wrong in my initial assumptions. So apparently I'm watching too much House because I was really disappointed when it was just adoption. Like damn, I was hoping for some crazy shit, like that time that lady almost lost custody of her baby because he didn't have the same DNA as her. Like, they took a DNA test and she was genetically found to not be the mother despite the fact that she gave birth to him. It turns out that she had chimera syndrome, I think? That's based on an actual case. Lydia Fairchild is a chimera who was discovered after the state of Washington tested her as a part of their welfare application process. The state of Washington was convinced that she was trying to scam the state and either used a relative's children or was a surrogate using the surrogacy to scam the state. So she was being charged with fraud, and the prosecutors were attempting to remove her children. She was pregnant with her 3rd child, so the judge ordered that an impartial witness watch the birth and blood draws done on the infant, which also showed she wasn't the mother. It's only after that result that some serious research was done, and it was discovered that her hair, skin, and saliva had one DNA, and her reproductive system had another. The more you know. Anyway guys, that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the episode, and with that said, I want you to have a fantastic day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!